Yeah.
The A Show.
Where smart is the new sexy.
And now, April Hunter.
Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to the A Show. I am super thrilled to have my co-host here, Eva D, and we are welcoming back Linda Martuch. So I know a lot of people are very familiar with her. She's been here and helped me host a multitude of times. But if you are new, she's got a hell of a bio. She is a lifelong experiencer. She is an expert in ETs. She has studied remote viewing. She trained with Dr. Stephen Greer, consulted with the Institute for Exo-Consciousness, and I can read this entire thing. So if you have questions for her, please put them into the chat. So here goes. Ready, everyone? Linda, correct me if I screw anything up. All right, lifelong experiencer who has had encounters with a wide variety of phenomena. Linda has seen fully 3D craft, heard the heavenly choirs, been face-to-face with 2 human-looking ETs, encountered a Bigfoot, and had an orb fly through her body. She has performed successful contact work on 4 continents, had experiences in astral projection, and countless sightings of objects in the sky and on the ground. She has experienced time and reality shifts, has photographed a variety of phenomena, and telecorded, am I saying that right? Telecorded? A grade 1 paranormal experience.
Recorded.
Telecorded?
Recorded.
Okay, sorry, I'm seeing that wrong.
I typed it wrong. Wrong.
That's okay. A paranormal experience which took place inside her home. I remember that, actually. Linda trained in remote viewing with Stargate members Lynn Buchanan, Joe Moneagle, am I saying that right? Moneagle, and Angela Ford, in addition to several other instructors. She also trained with Tom Campbell of My Big Toe Consciousness fame. Linda attempted a very short career in filmmaking, which didn't turn out well, and is currently writing a book about her experiences with ET contact, which sponsored a spiritual awakening. Before finding ETs, Linda fly fished the world, raced sailboats, and built a successful business over 25 years. She's a dog lover and a longtime dog trainer who usually keeps a very low profile, but joins us today to answer all our questions. And your dog breed of choice is?
God, boy, that's a tough one, but Border Collie.
Border Collie. They're really smart. I'm not surprised that you would pick one of the smartest breeds. Welcome back. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, it's no secret. We asked you to come on because there's been some crazy stuff going on, and people are freaked out. And it would be nice to have somebody who is an expert in this field kind of answering questions or clarifying or debunking some of the things that we're wondering about, everything from drones to ETs to just, plasma to PSYOPs to Project Bluebeam. We're curious what's going on because obviously the government is not being transparent. They're telling us not to worry about anything, yet they're not telling us what's going on. And, that's a little bit alarming. So they leave us to come to our own devices. And some of them are, we don't know how accurate things are. We don't know how inaccurate things are. But you're in touch with a lot of these people in back channels and things like that. And you have a lot of experience. We were hoping you might be able to shed a little light in the areas that you're allowed to speak.
Sure.
So
I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Now my back channels are not something that I access very often. So this is what I'm going to tell you now is pretty much what I've learned.
All right.
And I did learn a lot of this through back channels, but not specifically in relationship to the drones. And a lot of it I've kind of figured out. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bury the lead. You should never bury the lead. I'm going to bury the lead. What we're experiencing is a massive shift in many areas for our planet. Okay. So let's start with the drones. In the first place, people go out and we don't know what they're doing. And yeah, they're out here. And yeah, I saw one and there was one like over the house next door. And when I went out and saw it to walk the dogs, and I ran back in to get my phone, and by the time I was back out, it was too far down to get a picture. So I know they're real, and we saw a lot of stuff online, and a lot of the problem is that people see things. They've never gone outside at night. They haven't spent time watching the skies. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what they're looking at. So there's a lot of misreports. There's a lot of people who make a lot of reports just out of pure mistakes. They just don't know. Okay. So that's a piece. Another piece is that the military really is there. They're really doing things, and we don't know what they're doing or why they're doing, and they won't tell us that. Okay, that's it. Then you got another section of people who are jumping on the bandwagon. It's like, oh yeah, let's see how many clicks I can get by faking like some kind of drone thing. Boom. Okay, so that's another pile of people on the bandwagon. And then it's reasonable to assume that the 3-letter agencies have probably jumped on the situation, right? It a bit of disinformation and fear and concern and yada, yada, yada. So there's this great big huge mix of stuff, and we really don't know a whole lot about it, except that, well, we haven't seen any, tragedies. We haven't seen a drone crash into a Kmart, and we haven't seen anybody run their car off the road, and hit a tree because we're pretty sure we're safe. But me personally, when I'm watching these things, what I'm looking for is it priming? Is part of what they're doing priming? Now we know we're doing it. They're doing it. We know the military's doing it. Trump has come out twice. Once he said, yeah, they're doing stuff and they really ought to tell you what it is. But of course he can't because he's not the president yet. And then he came out, I think just today or yesterday, and said, as soon as I'm president, I'm going to tell you what's going on. Well, okay. Best you do. But and the most probable explanation I've heard is that they're looking for missing nuclear material, like somebody can make a dirty bomb or something.
So by priming, you mean it's a psychological operation, a psyop, like they're preparing us for something?
Priming is, you know how in the lead up to COVID, literally for 10 years before that, every single year we would hear about some virus. It was SARS or Ebola or yada, yada, yada. Like 10 years in a row, every year would hear about, here's this big virus thing. And like, oh, it never came here. Okay. So when it gets to COVID, all they have to say is virus and it's here. And everybody goes like, wah, because they've been primed. They've been prepared. They've been, broken into the idea. They've accepted the idea.
Not to mention all the movies, films, and TV shows they put out there.
Andromeda Strain. That was like what?
Utopia.
The 70s? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So anyway, so remember the Chinese balloons?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So when that happened, I said, okay, what are the poignant parts of this story? It's in the sky. We don't know what it is. We can't shoot it down. And there's never any recovery of craft. Oh, it landed in the water. We can't get it back yet. There was never any explanation. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. So now we're looking at drones. And I'm saying to myself, because if this is priming, then we're going to see a consistency across the board. Okay. So once again, it's in the air. Now this time we do know what it is. And once again, it's gone away and there's no explanation. So there's some similarities and some dissimilarities. So you can't really tell about the priming for sure yet, right? So what else could it be? Well, it could be some type of distraction.
Do you remember how we started at the beginning of 2024?
2024. No.
2024 started with a alien invasion on a Miami mall. Tons of police coming, and it was all over the internet. Allegedly, shootout, the whole thing with aliens, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
It just disappeared.
Yeah, I tried looking that up again. I can't find anything.
Of course not.
January
of course not. Yeah. And everybody was freaking out about it. And then, so it makes sense to me that this is in my whatever you want to call it, uneducated, unadulterated, unexpertise opinion. It makes sense to me that this is a massive psyop And they would also use these drones as an excuse to get rid of civilian drone laws. Because without civilian drones, this has been put into Congress already.
Interesting.
It was, I think, Ron Paul. I always confuse them.
Paul.
One of the Pauls. He's already brought that up, that they're trying to do that. And without civilian drones, we wouldn't know what's going on, what happened with Maui. We wouldn't know what's happening with Western North Carolina. We wouldn't have even known what happened with Louisiana, because all that was drone footage that just people had, because they were Halliburton was keeping people out. Thanks, Dick Cheney. So, and that, that kind of BlackRock and Vanguard, and the military were keeping people out of Maui, out of their own homes. So they were using drone footage for that. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of that in LA with the fires now too, because apparently they're trying to keep people out of their homes too.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all. Now, Miami, they were testing technology. Nobody told me that, but to me, that's the only thing that makes sense for two reasons. One, there are no ETs here, and there are not going to be any ETs here. The ETs have left.
Why? How do you know this? Why?
Well, for two very good well, I know this because I used to do a great deal of contact work.
Okay.
And I had a contact event where something weird happened. And after that, there was never any more contact. Now, for people like me who've been like lifelong experiencers, we can feel them. I have been sitting inside my house, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, they're here. Jump up, run outside. There's definitely some very unusual stuff going on. So you get a feel for it. It's almost like a simpatico kind of thing. So I had this really weird experience, and ever since then, never felt another contact. And this was back in, could have been 20, maybe 22 at the very, very latest. And so I waited, and I sat on it, and I thought it was weird. And then after about 9 months, I started, calling, hey, what do you guys, see any, no, not a thing. Nope. Nope. And then I would check in like another 6 months later. Nope, nothing's going on. So they're seeing things in the sky, but they're not really making any real solid contact. And what I finally figured out in the end was that really weird experience I had was goodbye. And they haven't been seen since. Now, the reason they haven't been seen since, there's two really good reasons. One is their craft operate on magnetic fields. They actually ride the magnetic lines when they move. So because, and I think we might have talked about this or brushed on this before, because the magnetic fields on the Earth are shifting. Everybody thinks the magnetic fields are really smooth, but they're not, depending on like what's in the soil and where the magnetic field is at the time. So, this is granite and that's sand and this is water and that's basalt and that's copper and that's iron. So all these areas of the Earth are very lumpy magnetically. So as these lines are shifting, they break and jump. And so they can't bring the craft here down to the planet anymore. Okay. So that's one of the reasons they're gone. The other reason they're gone, and it just occurred to me literally 3 days ago, that all of a sudden, bing, the light went on. Now, people who follow the subject intensely, like I do, read a lot of reports about people who've been on craft, been taken aboard. It's a big thing, the, abduction thing. Generally, what happens is when people are taken onto a craft, the first thing that's happened is their clothing is removed. And no, it's not weird or kinky.
Oh, okay. They get getting some anal probing in?
Not yet. Hold tight.
Okay. Sorry.
They get like sterilized. They go through like a shower.
Hand sanitized.
They get sanitized. Exactly. And then they get some clothes to wear while they're there. Like you go to the doctor, it's like, here's your paper apron.
Oh, they're just getting detox from the earth germs. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
What if it's too small? What if it's too big?
I wasn't there. I don't know. I can't tell you. I imagine they're pretty good at this because they make all kinds of really crazy stuff work. At any rate,
I've always been bummed out I was not anally probed. It just never happened for me.
Well,
I was like, why?
I think that ship sailed.
Yeah,
you're going to have to look to humans for that now, April.
It just seems like it would be the same,
The ETs are out of the picture now. So at any rate, they're like really, really anal. about germs on their craft. And also, as you may or may not know, there was a huge wave of activity, say in the 90s and thousands, and a lot of reports of them taking samples of things. And it was pretty much well known in the community that they were taking samples, and this includes those mutilations, which were primarily human. Of the cows. Well, a little bit the ETs did. They did it for the same reason, because of the pollution, because of the nuclear stuff, and all the pollution that we've been releasing. So they're testing things to see, like, okay, these guys are screwing up their planet. What's happening to their cows? What's happening to their plants? What's happening to their people? Yada yada. Now, with the people, they're very into the genetics. Now, I ask you something. If you were coming here from the future, if you were coming back to try and claim some genetic material, would you do it before or after COVID?
Before.
Because afterwards, genetically, the DNA has been altered now with the mass vaccinations and the COVID and the mass man-made virus. We are all changed. And 65% of the people have taken the mRNA, which has changed their genetic code.
And shedding. How are they going to know when they take somebody on board if that person has been injected and shed? And they are just really, really careful about any kind of germs, any kind of contamination. They just will not let it on their craft. So I think for those two reasons, one, it's dangerous to bring the craft. So on the outside chance you might see a drone, but when I say drone, I don't mean like human drone with like little helicopters and that kind of stuff. It would actually look like a ship, but it wouldn't be manned. I don't think they're coming anywhere near us. I think, the bell rang. And so that's why I think nothing of what we're seeing in the skies with this business lately has anything to do with ET. I think
so you think this is, go ahead, Eva.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so this looks like a government psyop where, as we know, the government loves to unite people with fear.
I don't know that was the original intention, but I think there was a little bit of piling on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there very well could have been an original intention for this. And then you see an opportunity. You're like, oh, hey, look, we can stir the pot a little bit. So let's throw some of that. Let's throw some of that. I also think they were testing some of the technology. I've seen them testing some technology. They have.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, they have the ability to. Now let me say this. Excuse me. I don't know how much I've seen. I suspect I've seen a whole lot more technology than I know, and I could have attributed it to being an ET. And I'll tell you that story in a minute. But with this one, I've seen, this was in Joshua Tree. Both these episodes were in Joshua Tree Park out in California. And what they do is they take 3 lasers, and you can't see the laser beams, but they take 3 laser beams, triangulate them together, and they actually create plasma in the air. So you're going to see a light. All right. Now, the ones that we saw when we were out there, I was out there with 2 of my friends, and I have this on video somewhere. I don't catalog this stuff. It's like on a chip somewhere. Right. At any rate, I have it on video, and it looks like, when they do those air shows where the parachute guys come down and they put a flare on their foot and they swirl all around and they make the designs and stuff. Well, it looked like that, only these lights went on for like half hour, 45 minutes, never, it came down, and they would split apart, and then they'd flip and do all this crazy stuff. And after a while, they'd all come back together, and then there'd just be one, and then there'd be another one, and then they'd do crazy and they split up and come back, whatever. Excuse me. And I didn't know at the time.
You just sounded like such a girl.
I didn't know at the time what I was looking at. But I found out later, hang on,
that it was a Project Bluebeam type of thing?
No, I think they were playing with their lasers. They were learning how, at that point, they were learning how to make the lights in the sky and make them move and computerize them and keep the lasers perfectly organized and aligned and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's one thing I saw. Also out in Joshua Tree, I saw somebody disappear. And to this day, I don't know if that was an ET or if that was technology. And so we were on an expedition with Dr. Greer out in Joshua Tree, and we'd been through a very long silent meditation, and I was freezing. So as soon as he released us for meditation, I got up and I booked it for the car because I had some more warm clothes in the car. I was definitely the first person out of the circle. And there was like this tiny little trail. There's no other place to go. You got to go here to get to the cars. So I got to the car, and just as I got to the car, I saw someone step across the far side of the road and walk towards us. And I looked up and I said, "Oh, hey, hi." Turned to get into my car, and I'm going like, "Well, what?" Because that's either some kind of like intruder person or something, right? That guy's not, he's not with us. So who is this person? And I mean, I could see it well enough. I could see the outline. It's dark, but our eyes are acclimated. We've been out there for hours. And I can see a jacket and jeans and boots and, like a ball cap, but I couldn't see, really features of the face. So I'm like, wait a minute, who is this? And so I turned around and I'm like, hey, there was nobody there. We looked under all the tiny little parking lot, 5 cars. We looked underneath the cars. We walked all around. We got the flashlight, checked everywhere. Nothing. That guy disappeared. And to this day, I don't know if it was an ET. Just show it because they've seen ETs there before. I don't know if it was an ET faking me out or if it was a human being and they're testing the technology. And we would be prime subjects, right? Because we're out there at night looking for stuff. So I don't know which of those two it was.
You mentioned Dr. Greer and that you were on a thing, and that was one of the things I brought up to you about that I was curious is in your training with Dr. Greer, was some of the things he's been very vocal lately talking about these drones and the technology that, let's say, Humans or America is using and the advancement of these to make us think that they are alien in nature, but they have had some come down. We don't know who belongs, or if it's China, or what's your experience on that, or what do you know about this technology that he's out there talking about?
I think what you're referring to is gravitics. And according to Dr. Greer, I mean, I got this from him, but there's definitely, if you go to the disclosure witness videos that he had posted. I think most of them are still there on YouTube, and listen to the scientists. And I don't remember exactly the name of the guy, but he was talking about it. But the problem of what they call gravitics, which you would think of as anti-gravity, according to Dr. Greer, that was solved in the 70s, maybe the 60s. So they've had the ability to produce anti-gravity whatever craft for 50 years. So it would not surprise me in the least if some of those drones were in fact anti-gravity craft, like that one guy was saying, who was on the Sean Ryan show. He was the guy, and they said he blew up the truck in front of the Tesla in front of the Trump Tower. Did you guys see that? Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but
a lot of it doesn't seem right.
Yeah, but I'm
that
sure,
seems a little. Yeah,
a lot of all that doesn't seem right.
I'm sure gravitics exist. And again, like I just mentioned a little while ago, when you've been a lifelong experiencer and a trained remote viewer, I can project my consciousness out and look at things. I say look, it's more of a sensory thing, a feel. So, if I see something in the sky, I just kind of ping it, I just kind of connect with it, and I can get a feel if it's empty, if it's human, or if it's not human. And yeah, sorry, I just got stuck there. But gravitics, the problem of gravitics has been solved. And that's where I was. So like the craft, like the Bob Lazar, and they've got these craft and yada, yada. I mean, we can see stuff do crazy things in the sky that you would assume that human craft can't do. But I don't get an ET feel off it. And it's got a feel. It's got a definite sensory impression to it. So I'm certain I've seen human craft doing ET things in the sky.
Okay.
There are a couple questions in the chat
Yes.
for you, and I also wanted to bring something up real quick and read this. Just so, and I'm going to get to your questions. I see Winona, I see Gregory George, and by the way, thank you everybody joining us. We really appreciate you being here. I know normally we greet everybody by name, and we just went right into it tonight. And Allie, I know it's your day after birthday, so if you stick around, we are singing to you. So stick around. I just wanted to have people understand, just in case you don't know, what Project Bluebeam is. We assume people know these things. A lot of people don't. So the Canadian man who uncovered Project Bluebeam is Serge Monast. He had his children permanently taken from him by the government. Then he was arrested. Then he mysteriously died from a heart attack while he was in jail for sharing everything that he exposed publicly regarding Project Bluebeam, which they discounted as just a conspiracy theory. So if it was just a conspiracy theory, why such a drastic reaction and a harsh punishment? And this was back when Canada was all about free speech. So they said there's 4 main goals, but there's 5 main goals of this PSYOP known as Project Bluebeam. And the first is to dismantle the world religions, destroy archaeological and religious knowledge, and rewrite history. So tell me if anything is resonating with you guys, if you recognize anything here. Okay, so number 2, create a global spectacle by simulating a second coming of religious figures by holograms projected in the sky. Number 3, broadcasting telepathic signals to manipulate human minds with new beliefs. Now, if you're a long-term listener to the show, you already know that this tech is patented through Apple, through the Apple earbuds already, to read brainwaves and report back. So there's quite a bit of tech that can do this type of thing. The earbuds aren't the only ones. Number 4, establish an electronic god to enforce allegiance to a one world global leading entity. And number 5, destroy the family unit, discourage reproduction, destroy national pride, and destroy patriotism. So if anything there seems familiar or resonates with anybody, there's that. Project Bluebeam aims to use the false idea of aliens attacking to unite the world in fear and create new laws while taking freedom under the guise of safety. So,
I'm sorry, New World Order? Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
So the more you know, the government loves to unite us under safety. So the name of the game is to be aware, educated, and to choose not to live in fear and to let other people know. By the way, you can share this, share all of this, share this with your friends, send it out there. Share this information so people know what's going on, so they don't fall for it, so they're not in fear, so they don't have anxiety, because that's not a good way to live, and they don't need to live that way. But yeah, that's Project Bluebeam.
That was 1995 too.
Yes. So the two questions that stood out. Winona is asking, so basically, the aliens have their own form of Darwinism, where they only want the most genetically superior.
No.
Okay.
No, they are not infinitely wise. And I think that what they do, they're like, okay, so the universe is a really big place and there's a whole lot of empty real estate out there. So it's not all, remember, there's a lot of different ETs, okay, but there's a subset of ETs and they're like the gardeners. So, like we have, how many different kinds of tomatoes have we got? How many different kinds of like beans, right? So I think
hybrids.
Thank you. So who knows what their intentions are? I've heard many people say that their intentions are to kind of, I think what they would have liked is us without the aggression and the, some of the really terrible tendencies that we have, because we've retained some of our psychic ability. We're pretty smart, we're clever, we're creative. We've got a lot of positive attributes, but we scare easy and we're violent and we're dangerous. So I think that what they're trying to do with us in our particular experiment is to kind of move us in a direction where we could grow up a little bit and maybe join the galactic community.
Okay. Well, that makes some sense.
Yes.
Gregory George says, don't think I'm completely down with the Project Bluebeam stuff. Didn't know about the Canadian guy. Yeah, you don't have to be down with it, but you don't have to be down with germs either. They still exist. So there you go.
Well, the other thing with the Canadian guy was two people that were working on that also died
Oh yeah, that's
by
right.
mysterious heart attacks in a very short period of time after.
Yeah, it looks dodgy. You know, there's only so many coincidences. But Gregory also had another comment. He said, we lived about 30 miles west of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. My thoughts were it was either the government also thought about it being from the future or another dimension. So I heard about the Air Force Base being kind of.
What is what he's talking about? What, something happened at Wright Pat?
Was that was the drones when they shut the Air Force Base down, right? Am I guessing that?
I did. They shut down Wright Pat. I didn't hear that. I thought it was
I thought they did. No,
there was a lot of things. Airspaces all over the place.
Yeah, they shut down some of the Air Force bases.
One airport. Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
I say it's not just America. This has been going on. You're talking about UK. In reference to England, London, those places.
Yeah.
You know, and other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, you know what? I didn't even know that it was going on in other places, but I knew that it was going up. It looked to me like they were going up transportation corridors.
Never thought about that.
So I thought that was, Wright Pat's got a pretty interesting history. They've got a lot of stuff going on in there.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, it was Wright Pat where they took the bodies from Roswell. So in the initial form, or in the initial incarnation of all this, they started kind of accumulating, supposedly, craft and materials and bodies at Wright Pat. I don't know what all stayed there or not. I think they probably moved a bunch of it out to the desert. That would be reasonable. But they've got quite a reputation in the ET community.
It would make sense to me that, okay, so no matter what or how you want to dice it from Area 51, that something came out of the sky, something that we didn't know about, some technology.
In Roswell?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was previous to 2019.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Roswell was 47? Roswell's a long time ago.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we've had all this piece of whatever it is, science has come a long way. There's no doubt in my mind that we could have reverse engineered, learned about this product over how many years, and came up with something. So, and then you throw something in the sky like that's been going on. Okay, well, my neighbor's got a drone. Let me go scare the other guy because somebody else got drones. And before you know it, you got a whole thing going on and people doing all kinds of parades in the sky drones. So I think a lot of that, in the beginning, who knows what it was? Maybe government, maybe psyops. Well, I think Americans just jumped right in and said, "Hey, I'm going to fly mine now."
I think it was a great big mix of stuff, as is common. But if it's psyop, it'll disappear. If it was a distraction, it'll disappear and not come back.
It's gotten
kind of like the alien invasion in the Miami Mall in January 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of the stuff I saw that they said were drones reminded me of those things I'd seen out in Joshua Tree with the lights in the sky and the swirling around and stuff, which is why I brought it up. Because
how long ago was that, Linda?
Oh, that would have been.
Don't mind me asking.
2018, 19.
Okay. Before COVID.
Gregor's correcting us. The rest of his comment didn't come through. He said, no, this was my close encounters I was mentioning, seeing UFOs close up. One flew slow 20 feet over me. I put too many words in the comment. It didn't show up me explaining it. Okay, gotcha.
Well, that'd be cool. So I want to know what it looked like.
Yeah.
And while he's typing that up, I'll tell you, I saw a triangle craft probably come out of MacDill. I was up at Starkey Ranch for a Skywatch, a telescope thing, not ET, but just literally look at the stars and stuff. They have this telescope thing up at Starkey Ranch, and this massive black triangle without any lights on it is just like floating over us, maybe 300 feet, maybe 400 feet. And no
Wow.
lights, absolutely silent. And I'm standing next to this guy with this telescope, and I'm looking at him and looking at that, going like, aren't planes supposed to have lights on them? And he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, whatever. Yeah, right, dude. And when it got past us, it finally, bing, a little white came on, little white light on the nose. But that had to be human, because, McDill would have blasted him out of the sky.
Yeah, and there's at 300 feet, that must have been interesting with a telescope.
Well,
Get
the
you right
telescope
in there.
was aimed at the moon or some like star or something. And once they get it all aimed in, they don't move them around. Nobody moved. Nobody looked at it. And it's like, I'm like, hey, are you guys watching this? But it was very cool. So I'm dying to know what he saw on the,
Yeah, I'm curious too.
what it looked like, if it was a saucer or a triangle, or if it was a light, or if he saw beings, or what it was. Nothing yet.
Oh,
There you are.
hey.
And I was anally probed, and I want you to know it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Everything I thought it was.
Yeah.
Was it warm, sensational?
It was.
So
It was
they're good.
warm, but
Okay.
it wasn't too hot. It was like the perfect temperature.
They're good at it. Okay. They've had lots of practice. Yeah.
Well, next time you go away, now we know. Female
Oh,
pegging 101.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It just quit on me. So. Anthony
Flip us around. This is
Anthony,
weird.
says this is interesting. Modern humans have a seated hijacking port, a mental brainwashing doorway built and stacked upon fears with the goal of manipulation when needed. Powerful ill will humans have created and partaken. So I know what you're trying to say, and I totally agree that it's so easy to fear us into doing whatever. And I'll tell you what, like you said earlier, they use fear to manipulate us, and the people who are scared are like a scared animal pushed into a corner. They come out swinging. That's where the anger and frustration comes from. So it is very, very, very important for people to understand that living in fear and is being manipulated, and it is a choice. So that's why we're having Linda on. That's why we are doing this show. We want you to know that what is going on up there that nobody is talking about is bullshit. It is a psyop. It is done to make you scared. And there is no reason to be afraid. So it is done to manipulate you to try to create a different way of living. And just like how everybody dealt with deception with COVID, they're trying to continue this path. So, and we've noticed more and more people are awakening to a lot of the stuff going on, and kudos. Well done, all of you public people, smart people. And we are continuing to encourage you to awaken to see what's actually going on. It's crazy, the psyops. I mean, if people, Gloria Steinem was an undercover agent to push feminism, radical feminism, to help break up the family. Why get paid, the IRS? Why get one tax when you could get two out of every household, and it helps destroy the family? The psyop bullshit has been going on forever. It didn't just start with COVID. So please understand, there is no need to live in fear. There's no need to live in anger. Just see it for what it is and choose.
Be wise.
Choose to do the things that you love. Choose joy. Choose to live at a higher vibration. It is really, really vital that you live your best life.
Isn't the timing unique though?
Yeah, we're not all.
The timing is unique. The timing is unique. Yes.
Look at all the crazy stuff that's going on, and we're still here. So we're not all going to die. We're going to be fine.
We're all going to get through it.
Yeah, make sure you find a way to smile every freaking day, and be happy. Don't worry.
I'm glad you brought
happy.
Well, listen, let me ask you a question really quick. April, are you familiar with Dr. Jack Cruz?
Was that the one that anally probed me?
No.
Okay, no.
Sorry.
Different guy.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not.
It's okay. Then I'll send you some information. But for anybody who's out there, Dr. Jack Cruz, Kruse, he's done 2 Danny Jones podcasts. Danny Jones is local. Watch the first one. At any rate, talking about the manipulation, that there's manipulation in the light, in the blue screens. And I'm not going to, it's really fascinating. And I learned all this from the mob, believe it or not. It's a fascinating discussion, but I'm not going to derail us because you just said the most
No. You started, you have to finish. Talk about it because I've heard about the blue light and what it does.
Wait. Before we go any farther, though, he answered with
okay. Here
the
it is.
type of craft.
Saucer.
Okay. Saucer shaped. Gregory says saucer shaped. The bottom had a glowing half sphere underneath. In the center had different color lights, kind of irregular squaring shape around that. The outer part looked kind of red. Interesting. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
No.
Okay.
Glowing half sphere. Well, I mean, spheres are common, saucers are common, lights are common, but not that exact combination or configuration. It has different colored lights of irregular square shape around that. The outer part looked kind of red. Interesting. I love all the different, like all the different information, the reports, and people see different things, and I find it fascinating.
And the ones that had crashed don't look anything like that. The drones that have been picked up and crashed in New York and other places.
Oh yeah, those are drones.
I saw some pictures, and they're definitely unmanned aircraft, but they, to me, look man-made.
Yeah.
Just who's controlling it? Is it China? Is it our government? Is it scientists? Bullshit.
I don't know if it's China or not. I mean, China, the last I knew, the best thing they had was like one aircraft carrier. And now that could have been all just misinformation and BS, but who knew China had like submarines? And that felt a little bit to me like a scare tactic. And particularly because when I saw what they were showing as those drones going into the ocean, they looked an awful lot like those things I saw out in Joshua Tree 5-6 years ago. So right away I'm going like, no.
Bullshit.
Not buying it. Yeah, bullshit.
Winona says, I believe the government knows exactly what they're doing. They know how powerful the people are, and they're using us for their own will. Think of the movie Firestarter. I never believed it was just a movie. Now, I think a lot of that is part of the priming, as you speak of. Like I said, they'll unite us in fear because they know there's more of us than there are of them. So they'll turn us against each other with gender and sexuality and race and nationality. So they'll keep feeding bullshit into their corporate-owned media, and keep using these hatred things, keep us fighting so that we don't unite. So it's very important that we see through it and understand that, no, it's not male versus female or black versus white or us versus Mexicans or trans versus straight. It's none of that. It's just us all versus them.
Yeah. And I'd like to say that I think it's important that you realize, everybody thinks the government is this monolithic, one thought thing. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in a government there, and there's this faction and that faction and the other faction. But if we're talking government, I would say, please pay very close attention to everything your representatives say up in Washington, because some of those people say the most god awful stuff. I mean, it just chaps my. That those guys get back into power. So,
and they get voted in.
You see,
I know, and they get to stay in. They get to stay in.
Even local commissioners. Freaking it's BS, man. Pay attention.
But that's all payola and blackmail.
Wait, okay. So what were you saying about blue light? So someone said about the blue light hijacking the brain waves.
I'm going to tell you, it's super, super condensed. You really got to listen to Jack tell the story because he lived it. But what happened was he tells this big story about the mob and the Jewish mob and the Italian mob. And the Jewish mob went out and built Vegas. And they learned by trial and error. So first they take out the clocks, and then they cover up the windows, and then they discover that the receipts go down at 5 or 6 o'clock because there's no food. That's when the Vegas buffet was, invented.
Wait, incidentally, like what you're saying right there. Right. They have designed social media and the scrolling to work exactly like some of the slot machines and the gambling stuff to keep you addicted.
We're going there. We're going there. We're going there. So then what they realized was the light. So they kind of backed into it. They started with brain waves, where they put wires into skulls of monkeys and studied with that.
Mhm.
And then and you may have seen this, it's online. This in Mexico, they had like a transmitter, like a radio transmitter, and the bull with the implants. And so the bull's running and the guy flips a switch and the bull just stops and he's kind of looking around like whatever, And so they learned that they can control with these direct brainwaves electrodes. Well, then what they learned was that they could embed these signals into light. So they didn't have to necessarily use, electrodes in your brain in a transmitter. So what happens is, and you got to hear Jack explain this, there's all these different colors of light, right? Like you say, my light here is very warm. And so there's blue light and red light, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Light does a lot more than make things visible, right? So there's certain wavelengths of light that are available first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Did you know that watching the sun come up in the morning is what creates the melatonin that puts you to sleep at night?
I did not.
You can't get to sleep at night. Get up in the morning, watch the sun come up in the morning. In 2 days, you'll be sleeping like a baby. And when the sun goes down, turn the lights off.
I have no problem going to sleep at night. And I never see a morning.
Well, okay. So you're not having a problem. But I'm saying if you are, right?
Does that classify you as a vampire? I think it does.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't
you guys are different.
either.
You guys are different. So anyway, but they learned how they can embed both, and you're right, about the scrolling and so what happens is the blue light reduces the dopamine in your brain. All right. And all those little TikToks, you know what they do? They give you a teeny tiny little dopamine hit.
Yep.
So while the blue light is decreasing the dopamine in your brain, they give you tiny little dopamine hits to keep you there, and you're addicted. You're sucked in. Like it's amazing. And something I know for a fact is true because I noticed it before I started learning about all this. And when I started learning it, I'm like, oh man, I have just like so lived this.
Yeah. I'm so grossed out when my phone goes, you've spent, 12 hours more this week on the phone or on social media. I'm like, oh God, I'm such a loser. Oh my God. So, but I will stand there and I'll sit there and do what I'm watching, I'm getting sucked in, and I'm like, I could be doing other things like cardio, like reading a book, like organizing my closet, like visiting friends, like going and playing with my dogs.
Cooking
life is short. I could be working on some crafting stuff. So there's time and attention span are they're the ultimate resources, time and attention, and everybody's fighting for those things, and you cannot get them back.
Yeah.
You can't get them back. Think about if you're on your deathbed, right? If you could get back all the time that other people have wasted, that you have given to social media and scrolled, and that people have, driven slow in the left lane and, got up to the thing to do the counter, and they still don't know what the fuck they want to order. So they've been there 7 minutes. They still can't decide. It's like, oh my God.
Ass.
There's not one person that's like, can I write a check? Like all the time that these people have stolen from you, going 55 in the left lane and everything else. And then all the time that you've spent scrolling.
Wait.
You've been on TikTok 7 more hours.
Well, not anymore. In 5 days, TikTok's gone.
I know. So if you could get all that back, you would live like years longer. Years.
But what would you do with that time? Because right now, all right, let's say you're going to drink out of a garden hose, play outside. Oh my God. That's
no, you can't do that in Florida. The garden hose is hot.
Right now,
you just gotta figure it out, Eva.
You gotta figure it out.
I know. I'm just playing the other side because you know how it goes.
I struggle with that all the time. It's like because the computer just sucks me in. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check this one thing, and the next thing you know, I'm just like, oh.
Then you find something funny and jolly and makes you feel good. Anyway, let's get back to that. That's a good one.
What do you think about? Well, there's two things here. First, Anthony is saying the more I learn about the more I learn about things in society, I feel like I'm reading this wrong. Hang on. The
There
more I
you go.
learn about how certain things probably work in society, I feel like the way they got all of us with anything that our shadow leaders allow or structure things to progress were through regulations, etc. I think I understand what you mean by that. There's a lot we don't understand that's going on behind the scenes, and there are a lot of people pulling the strings higher than we realize. So once you start learning how things are working, uh, a lot of people don't realize that when you start going through an awakening, it can be really depressing because a lot of times other people aren't going through that awakening with you, and you start losing friends and you start losing family members a little bit, and you're alone at first until you find your people. And then you start learning more and more and more about how things work. And that's it's alarming. Eventually you will get to this wonderful place of peace and acceptance. You really, really will. But yes, the more you learn about how things work, the more you realize that you don't know. The more you realize that you shouldn't assume, and the more you realize how crazy it all is. The second one is Gregory's asking, what does she think about quantum thoughts, as in things coming true after you've just thought them, storms switching 90 degrees after praying about it, like pray it all away. And somebody else asked about that as well.
Yeah.
Eva, you wrote that question down, right? About
What-
collective consciousness. You want to piggyback
Yes.
that on here too?
Yep.
I
yep,
can
go ahead.
wrap
Oh
it
yeah,
all
that's
up.
it. That's it. Gregory says, I know she's talked about collective consciousness stuff through meditation with others. Okay, so
Yeah.
yes, here we are.
Okay. All right. So this is my way. We're going to start really big and we're going to zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
So the world's going crazy because we're going through a pole flip. We're going through the change in yugas. The
Change what?
Wait, explain that
Yugas?
for us normal people.
Yugas.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're
what's that?
time periods. They're time periods in history, written about in the Sufi texts, and they're kind of like really old. And we go through phases in human development and human expansion. So
Okay.
we're on that phase. It's like the fourth turning, but on a much bigger scale. Okay. So you've got the galactic current sheet coming from the center of the galaxy, which is also changing. So we're under a lot of stress by magnetic fields, big changes, fourth turning. As a whole, the entire planet is under a lot of stress. Okay. So if you believe or listen to Dolores Cannon, we're actually at a point, and actually this comes up in the raw channels as well, and I'm a big fan of both of those. What's happening right now is the earth is having a tendency to split and kind of pull apart, and we're all going to have different realities. What that means is, say you've lost a lot of friends to COVID, right? Well, in their reality, maybe you died because you didn't take the vax, but they're still alive. All right. So the people who are ready to go to the next step, the next reality, go one way, and the people who need more time at the place they're at go another way. So there's all this really crazy stuff going on. All right. So what are we going to do about all this? Well, yes, I think that it's actually human thought that has created much of the disasters and pain on the planet. And let me try and explain that really quickly.
We have discussed that on here, that everything that's happening is we have to take responsibility for, because we are contributing to the dark forces and the energy that is happening.
Right, but we're the dark forces.
Yeah.
That's the difference. We are the dark forces. Okay. So here's why. All right. Go look at the television, and just, if you have a whole bunch of channels, just look at the names of what's on, and 90% of it is murder or crime, or we're constantly fed. Also, we're a killing society. Yes, I do mean America.
Yeah.
So what happens is, if you don't like the bug, kill it. If you don't like the weed, kill it. If you don't have any use for your animal anymore, take it to the shelter. They'll kill it for you. Yeah. Everything is kill, even on the TV. We are so, and if it isn't kill, it's get ahead, or, get in front of the next guy at the, show or the road or whatever. So what happens is, the universe is like a mirror. or it's like a boomerang, right? Whatever you put out, you're going to get back. And I think that humanity has so massively overloaded the negative that we say there's a big battle between negative and positive. Yeah, you betcha. But who is responsible for the negative? It's us. But it's every single day in every single way in tiny little bits. Like 2 hours ago, I was sitting outside here. You know how beautiful it is here. And the sun's going down, the light's filtering through the trees. And you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about this problem I got and how pissed I am at this jackass who didn't do it. And now I got this thing, blah, 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 right? And all of a sudden it occurred to me, I said to myself, Linda, this is part of the problem. Just appreciate the light coming through the trees and how beautiful it is. And my whole energy and all my thoughts changed.
Yeah.
We do make the future, and collectively, whether we want to admit it or whether we even have the ability to know about it, right? Collectively, all this stuff adds up, and we have created a negative feedback loop, and now we're kind of stuck.
And those of us who want to get the hell out of it are stuck because everybody else has brought us down and fallen into the manipulation. And so
the solution
I went out. So I want everybody to help me get out of this.
The solution is simple.
Stop being afraid. Stop being afraid.
Ridiculously simple. Just be nice.
Yeah.
I know it sounds insane.
Yeah.
And it sounds
What?
It just be nice.
I have something for you guys too.
Insane. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds brain-addled. It sounds nuts. But the truth of the matter is, think nice thoughts, do nice things. Do nice things for other people. It'll make you feel better faster. Do you know that scientists have studied interactions, and they can tell you that other people get a benefit by watching one person do something nice for somebody else?
Yeah.
Everybody who watches that gets a benefit. Try it in public and watch if other people don't jump on the bandwagon and start I've watched it happen, and other people go, oh, well, I'll help somebody too, right?
All that energy is contagious, positive or negative. And Allison says it's hard to look for the positive, but it's there. We just have to take a conscious moment to find it. I'm going to argue that.
Habit.
I honestly think it's very easy to look for the positive. You just have to create the neural pathways.
It's a habit.
So Matisse used to say, Matisse would say, there are flowers everywhere for those who care to look. Like you can look for, what's the positive? Did you have a good coffee this morning? You know, is there a roof over your head? Did your bed feel good?
Yep.
Was your dog beside you? You know, is your mom alive? You could give her a hug. These are all big, huge things, believe it or not, to be grateful for. And these are all the positives that create that energy going forward. And I wanted to read something real quick because I know you mentioned Sufi, and Sufism is a mystic practice. And so is Kabbalah. I'm a Kabbalist, and this is a transformation formula that anyone can use. And it's literally called the transformation formula because most people live a very reactive life. So, and this is going to help you become proactive if you want. So when you live reactively, you are literally being manipulated and reacting to everything going on instead of creating your own life. And I believe life is kind of like a video game, like we're avatars and we create everything. So, and we think our way through it. So a proactive transformation formula, here's the transformation. A challenge occurs. We realize that it's our reaction, not the problem, that's the real enemy. So we shut down our reactive system to allow that light in, and you take a breath. So now we need to express our light nature with a proactive action or of sharing. So here's an exercise. So the challenge occurs, your friend blows up at you. Your emotional reaction, you're upset, angry, hurt. You think they're being a complete bitch. Your behavioral reaction, you shout back at your friend and the two of you stop speaking. Here is a proactive situation. Challenge occurs, your best friend blows up at you. You realize your reaction is the actual enemy. You see that your feelings, you have feelings of being hurt and upset, but you shut them down, and these are your real enemy. And the real enemy is not your friend. It's your feelings. You shut down your reactive system, not your feelings, to allow the light in. You let go of all your emotional reactions. Instead of shouting back and disconnecting and jeopardizing your friendship, you just take it all in. Even if you're not to blame, you let your friend vent. What matters is not who is right or wrong. What matters is your decision not to react. Bear in mind, too, that reaction is not necessarily a physical response. Externally, you can behave as though all is well, but internally, you have to put up a wall separating you. You can put up a wall separating you from your friend. So stay open, resist the desire to cut yourself off. And then 4, express your proactive nature. So you're now in contact with the higher realm. So the emotions you feel and your next set of actions will be rooted in the light. Now think of how you can share with your friend. You'll see a surprisingly positive change in the way that you manage the external situation that was confronting you. Your friend will respond in a way that you never dreamed possible, or an enlightening piece of information concerning your own growth will emerge. And this is how I think we have rungs of a ladder.
Sure.
This is how we ascend to a different rung every time to get to a self-actualization level. So not everybody gets to that point. So if you want to get to a higher level of living and jump timelines and get to self-actualization, you have to learn to do this. This is one of the things you have to learn, is to be proactive instead of reactive. And man, does it make your life easier. Being proactive and understanding that 99% of the things that happen are not personal will go really, really far.
Yeah.
So when somebody at work says eat shit and die, I shouldn't like flick them off?
Wait
Or
a
should
minute.
do
Somebody
that?
said that to you at work?
Did they
Oh,
actually
you
say
have no
that?
idea what goes on at work. Oh yeah, there's many things. But
Really?
so you laugh, you pause, and you can always hang up. But
They actually tell you that on the phone?
oh yeah, there's many things.
You say, okay,
Yeah.
sir, have a nice day.
Oh yeah,
Let me-
do that too.
Let me offer
I
you
just
one
laugh.
thing.
What? Click.
Let me
What?
offer you one thing.
Sure.
The only thing worse than dealing with somebody like that is being somebody like
Oh
that.
my God, yeah, hurt people
Yes,
hurt
and
people.
giving them power.
Well,
them power.
that's a miserable
No,
person.
That's
That is
a hurting
miserable,
person.
unhappy,
Wow.
frustrated, at the end of their rope person. And there's going to be a lot of people like that. And all I would suggest is you just say, "Oh, thank God I'm not that guy," and move on.
Yeah.
And
Well, one
War
thing nice
Demon,
about working. Good.
God. No, War Demon says I'm trying to get rid of all my emotions. Just be a robot. This
Don't
isn't
do
getting
that.
this isn't getting rid of your emotions.
No.
This is learning how to control your emotions and not letting your emotions control you.
Well, hang
And
on.
it's not
hang on,
personal.
Hang
Yeah.
on. Your emotions are a message from you to you.
Mhm.
Your emotions are informing you what you think about something.
Mhm.
So there's 2 ways to change your emotions. One is to change your thinking, and the other is to understand your emotion is a message. Most people think that their emotions are something they're supposed to act on, or somebody else is supposed to act on to your benefit, right? So you don't feel bad. That's not true. It's a communication method between your subconscious and your conscious. So pay attention to the emotion. Think about what it's talking to you about and why it's giving you that emotion.
Yeah, like we all know that one person that isn't happy unless everybody's miserable.
Well, just get away from that guy.
It's usually a woman. It's usually a woman.
Okay, you're
I
not
don't
going to change the
know.
world.
I don't know. I work for
You're not
the
gonna
mostly
change the
guys.
world, you know?
Most of
and
the guys are
another
worse
thing.
than the girls.
Here's another trick. It's like this is way too much to get into, but it's my opinion that
Oh,
whoops, we lost her again.
no, go ahead. Just keep talking.
Okay. That every person on the planet is a little teeny tiny slice of God or the divine or source or whatever, and that the source has created a vast every single permutation that ever could be in a human being in order just to experience itself. So sometimes you run into somebody who is just an unforgivable, and I can look at them.
Hello?
There she is.
I did well with my anal probing. They invited me back again.
Woo!
I don't know. My thing keeps quitting. I'm so sorry. I don't know
Was it
what's
as good
going
as the
on.
first time?
It's always
so
better
anyway,
the second time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is when it's like that, I'll just kind of stand back and look at it and say, wow, there goes God expressing herself as a "Rah," right? Because
Mhm.
God, source, divine, whatever, is gonna experience every permutation of every possible thing that could ever be in its attempt to understand itself through us. So it doesn't just gonna make it's like if you're watching TV and all you could ever watch was National Geographic and puppies, it's like, okay, that's kind of boring. Let's get the full picture here.
No,
Mhm.
So
puppies are good.
well, puppies are good, but if all you ever got to see was puppies, what would you learn? Right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll
To
just
be
say, well, there
happy.
yeah, well, okay. But if you sometimes you can just say, there goes God expressing himself or herself as a rah-rah. And just
Mhm.
stay back and marvel at it. Say, yeah, you know what? God created that because it wanted to see what that was like. And I can see from here it's miserable.
Yeah.
And I've
Yep.
done that and it really helps.
So, since April got double dipped on, thank you, I noted for that. Um, there were some other things that were brought up for questions too.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know if you don't mind, throw a few out there.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if we ever tied that all up in a bow. And it's like all this crazy, miserable stuff that's going to go on in our world. You think the fires in LA is it? No, just wait. I mean, there'll be more and there'll be more and there'll be more and there'll be more. Trust me, the hits are going to keep coming. And especially after Trump gets in. I mean, I figure
Mhm.
January 21st is when it really starts to hit the fan. So be ready, go with the flow, just kind of float above it. Know that this is kind of programmed into history. It's programmed actually into the magnetic fields of the earth. People are going to go crazy. It's programmed into these terrible buffoons and idiots. Okay, here you go. When you stop and think about those people who do that stuff, I mean the politicians who tell the lies, the WEF, the WHO,
The UN.
here's the bottom line. Why do they do that? Oh, they do it for the money. They do it. No, 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 no. Why do they do it for money? Why? Blah, 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 blah. The very bottom line is they're disconnected from consciousness.
Mhm.
You cannot harm another individual or another being if you're truly connected in consciousness, because you're going to feel what they felt. You're going to be perfectly empathetic, right? Because you're going to understand they're me and I'm them. We are all one. Now, that's what the ETs know, and we don't know. So, what's the cure? The cure is consciousness. What we do is we learn to understand ourselves, we observe our emotions, we observe other people, and then we start to learn about things like intuition and psychic functioning and right brain performance, being able to use our right brain. You can learn like tarot, or I mean there's all kinds of different psychic things you can do.
Mhm.
That's right. And you're very good at it too, aren't you, Eve?
Hmm.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is all evil in this world is done under the cover of darkness, which is a lie. If everybody told the truth all the time, everything would stop. Wars would stop. All evil would stop. There'd be no pedophilia. Because everybody would know what everybody's doing all the time, and nobody would be able to get away with this crap.
Mm.
But
That'd be
all the
horrible.
evil in the world is done under the cover of a lie, and it's done by people who are separated in consciousness. That's why the ETs think they lock the doors when they drive past, right? Because
And roll up the windows.
and roll up the windows, because we're separated. We're individual units trying to
That's awesome.
survive in competition with everybody else and solve all of our low dopamine problems with sex and money and drugs and whatever it is, right? So yeah, there is some biology built in here, but long story short, connecting in consciousness is the answer for the human race. All the evil in the world is done by people who are separated in consciousness.
Okay, so what do you do if you are a more evolved human being and you see all this and you don't want to hang out with the sociopaths and crazy people who are low informed dickwads, and you're just tired of their bullshit, and you want to elevate yourself and find your people. And you know that you've got some alien DNA going on. You know you've got some psychic ability going on. You know that we're all connected. You know you're better than this. You know you're not a sociopath. So, and you know that you're different than everybody else, and you're feeling kind of lonely and disconnected because you're not them. And you look at them and know that they're nuts. So, and other than forming a cult as bigwigs,
I was going to say that's a pretty good idea.
it's actually not a bad idea.
Nice job, Bigwig. I like it. I wish I
Thanks,
thought
Kenny.
that.
I mean,
What do you do?
what can people do other than join the A show and hang out for an hour and a half a week?
Oh,
Well,
shit, this is the best.
there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can involve in hobbies. You know what would probably help you more than anything?
Being a creative person, you mean? Because we are supposed to be creative.
Is volunteering.
Okay.
When you think the world is really, really horrible, the best thing you can do for yourself is to volunteer. Volunteer at the lady shelter, volunteer at the dog shelter, volunteer where they food, volunteer at the hospital. There's millions of places to go down and volunteer. And I'll tell you what, that'll give you a frame of reference, and you'll feel a whole lot better about your world, and you'll be taking action. But you can also take what I like is the 50,000 foot view. We all buy a commune, go live on it. Okay.
Yes, I'm in. Let's do it.
I've been thinking about that. Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Kari says connect with the tribe. So we connect with the tribe. We buy a commune.
Yeah.
We get chickens.
And then we but then we form a cult.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom. Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Or you can be a cult of one. And you can okay, so I'm gonna like totally bust myself here. You can do what I do. I isolate.
It's not good, though. It's not good.
Hang by myself.
We'll come get you.
You know.
Honestly, okay. So all the places in the world where the people live the longest.
Yeah.
Two of the things that they have in common. One is that they eat healthy food. The second is that they're very social. Oh, also they drink wine. So, you can only drink wine and eat healthy food for so long. Another major factor is that they are social. Friends, family, eating dinners together, going for walks, staying active.
So you say hang with your buds,
laughing. Yeah, being social is a big
your
thing.
tribe.
And, yeah, yep.
Now, well, that's a good point, because I will tell you this: I've been through probably 5 or 6 tribes in the last 10 years. And you find a tribe, and then for some reason it peters out, or it's not a good fit. Then you go find a new one. I mean, look at Meetup. Look at do anything.
Our tribe is all right.
Yeah.
Well, you got a really, really good tribe here.
I know. We're lucky.
But everybody can't get together, and there's a lot of this like togetherness business that like you were saying, that is really, really good.
Well, collective conscious, there's a lot to be said about that, to be honest with you. So start with just being positive to other people. Fuck the negative shit.
Yeah.
So.
And Kari says the grandparents that live the longest tend to have family living or visiting with them frequently. I wonder how that's going to go, since we have so many people who elected not to have children. So I think you're going to see a different dynamic in the future, because you see so many childless people who are going to get older. I think you're going to see a lot of unique, from Gen X on, you're going to see a lot of unique living experiences, where I think you are going to see almost like commune style, or tiny home communities, or multiple, buy a big house, multiple roommates, or that type of thing, where people can still.
Well, that's family as well.
Yeah. Where people can still be very social, have your space, but be very social. So I think it'll be a different situation there.
Everybody can contribute, and
I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work out.
Yeah,
it will.
And here's why. Here's why. It's like we've been getting bombarded with scary stuff for generations, right? All the way back to my grandmother's generation. and I'm grandmother age now.
Probably longer
right?
than that.
Of all, because I was talking to a nice young lady, and she's a young, she's getting started, and she's, all kind of weirded out by everything's happening and having trouble sorting out reality. And what I told her was, look, sweetheart, it always works out in the end. And the only reason I know that is because I'm this old, right?
Mhm.
And it always worked out for my grandparents. It always worked out for my parents. It's always worked out for me. Yes, there's hard times. Yeah, that's a part of the learning process. It comes, it comes with the deal. So try to roll with it. Know that it's going to get past and yada, yada. But in the end, trust me, it's going to work out. And people are going to do the right thing. And the best thing you can do to help them is show them an example of what the right thing is. Be an example for the next guy, the guy behind you in the line. Just be nice, be sweet. And you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at how good that makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No matter how crappy they are to you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the details don't matter.
No.
The details don't matter. What really matters is what you do. And what really matters is what you think. You think, oh, well, we got to get this politician and he's going to save us and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm not buying it because of the collective consciousness. And how do we change the collective consciousness? One interaction at a time. You be nice, you be caring, you be tolerant. Yeah, I've had cases where friends completely inappropriately, totally went off the deep end on me. And you know what I do? I just pass it away and go, you know what? At some point in some time, I'm going to do that. I suppose. I don't know, whatever. They didn't really mean it. They're just having a tough day and it's all right. Just be forgiving. Just be pliable and just kind of okay, fine. We're going to let that one go and move on so we can have a good time. Just be nice.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just checking to see if Allie was here still. Sing him happy birthday if he's still here. But God, if we have a couple minutes, yeah, what?
I was going to say maybe a couple of quick things. You mentioned in your bio about seeing a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
When was that?
I didn't know at the time it was a Bigfoot. I didn't know what it was.
She's Bigfoot obsessed.
But you know where that happened? Right out here in the backfield. And I was out there with, I was out there with the dogs. This is early on. And this is in the, what I call the initiation part, when I got slammed with it was big event after big event after big event. I was a normie. I didn't grow up in any kind of psychic family or anything. I mean, we were white bread, Catholic business people. And all of a sudden, all this crazy stuff is happening to me. So I was just out here in the backfield, and I just had, starting to learn about, some of this stuff going, man, this is weird. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I saw this thing move really fast between two trees, just, phew. And I mean, it was crazy how fast it was going, but to me, it looked like humanoid shape. And the top of that white fence, on the backfield was about waist high on this thing. So I went out the next day, probably about 8 feet. But I had no fear. I had no concern, no fear whatsoever. But the dogs went nuts. I've worked with dogs my entire life. I just love dogs. I'd never heard a sound come out of a dog like that before. And it was like a panic scream. A panic, fear scream. And there's 3 of them. And they're running around in circles around me, and they're milling around, and they won't stop screaming. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? But they're looking right where I saw that thing. And I'm like, oh my God, they're reacting to whatever that was. I literally picked up and came inside the house for them. I was not scared in the least.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you smell anything? Was there an odor?
Okay. No, because I was halfway across the field, right? So it was still a good.
Would that smell like?
There's a reason why I asked that. Come on.
What is the reason?
Because Florida, they call. No, in Florida, in Florida, it's called the skunk ape for a reason.
Yes, yes,
the skunk ape for hot.
Yeah,
I was going somewhere with that.
So I didn't get it figured out that was a Bigfoot until literally in the last maybe 6 to 8 months. And I was reading, Bledsoe, Chris Bledsoe's book, and he's talking about how when the dogs were going crazy and stuff, right? And I was like, oh my God, that thing was a Bigfoot. It must be somewhat intelligent.
Bigfoot is supposed to be somewhat intelligent, so I can believe he exists. Pandas are stupid, and we didn't find them until 1912.
Right.
Okay,
right.
that's fair.
That's
totally fair.
Yeah, you know what's cool?
Eva dragged me to a Bigfoot museum once. I'm like, come
I'd have
on,
gone.
are you serious?
I went in
there going, okay, this is bullshit. I can't believe I'm putting down like $12 for this. I came out a fucking believer. I'm like, okay, there's so much there. There's all these, pictures and news articles and things.
That was cool.
I'm like, maybe I need to open my mind a little bit. There's just too many things.
Let me tell you what it is. I'm going to bury the lead again.
Okay.
This is the universe trying to move us into consciousness. That's why we can never get photographs.
Because there's a hide and seek champion of the world.
If we have photographs, Bigfoot saw me, but nobody believes him, right? So, if we have photos and it takes us back into the right brain, analyze. The point is the experience, and then what we make of the experience. The universe is trying to very gently wake us up and go, dude, you're not the only one. Hello, hello in there. You're not the only one. Look at all this cool stuff, right? And so this is just us taking our first tiny little baby step into what the rest of human history could possibly entail. It's all consciousness.
I think there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about. And unfortunately, it's really sad that some people only believe what they can see, smell, hear, and touch. And that is where science falls short. And like I said, I've seen this on, you'll see a disclaimer on Wikipedia if you're talking about a theory. And there will be a disclaimer at the bottom, and it'll say, science has proven blah, 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 blah. This doesn't exist. And it's like, we're discouraged from even discussing things, because where our science is, where we know right now has stopped at this point. But we can't talk about things that we don't know about yet. Like at one point, people didn't understand why the sun rose and set. So they made up these grand stories about the sun and the dark, the light and the darkness fighting each other. At one point, we didn't know that there were germs. It didn't mean that they didn't exist and that they didn't wreak havoc, but we didn't see them. We didn't smell them. We didn't hear them. And people, had no idea what these little biological terrors were. So obviously let me just blow some smoke up your ass and it'll all be okay. Let me put a leash on you and bloodlet you and it'll be fine. You know
where that came
There was
from?
a reason why they blew smoke up my ass.
I know.
Yeah, you know where that came
receptacle.
from?
Which
blow
part?
smoke up your ass.
Yes, but do tell, because I would love to hear it from you.
Yeah, it was tobacco smoke.
Yeah,
and it was back in the Kellogg days up in Battle Creek. And it was a doctor, and they thought that blowing, tobacco smoke up your ass was helpful. Well, that eventually fell out of favor. But now that we know about nicotine, maybe nicotine
was quack medicine.
No,
it was
maybe it was helpful.
Maybe there was something to it.
Nicotine does actually calms you and opens your brain. So
something to it.
Who knows?
So can I respond to Anthony?
Yes, definitely.
You know what, Anthony, I want to tell you was that one of my teachers, one of my remote viewing teachers, was actually given Bigfoot as a target. And, these are all done blind. She had no idea what the tasking was. And what she came back with was that they travel through time. And time is a dimension. So when they disappear, they're actually in the same place, but they're moving into a different time. And I don't know how far forward or back or whatever, but I thought that was fascinating. And in the raw channels, they talk about there are humanoids on this planet that are proto-humans that are
what channel?
The raw channels, RA raw. This is it happened in the 70s.
Okay.
And it was these three people, and Carla Rucker was the channel itself, and then there's another person who was a scribe and another person who transcribed stuff and wrote it down, and a questioner. And the raw channels are just I mean, that was real channeling. They were actually connected to and talking with, I think it was fifth or sixth dimensional beings that they called themselves a social something construct. Anyway, the channel that happens now, I get that. It's like, channeling their own subconscious or, our collective conscious. But this was the real deal back in the 70s, I think it was, called the raw channeling. And you can still find them online.
Oh, I'll look it up.
And they have a free website called L&L something, and they post everything online for free.
Yeah, I think
It's amazing
I think we have
stuff.
to get very comfortable with the fact that we just don't know everything, and it's okay. It's
Right.
okay not to know everything.
That's the point. Wake up.
It's all right. It's all right. And
what-
anybody who says that they know everything and they try and debunk things should be punched in the face. Honestly,
Well,
you
they're the dummies. It's okay.
Yeah, you cannot.
Right.
You can't trust these sources and scientists or whatever you want to call the narrative pushers.
Okay, well, let me tell you.
Debunk.
Let me tell you this about science. All right, they're studying nuclear matter, atomic matter. I'm sorry, they're studying atomic matter. Atomic matter is less than 0.1% of all the matter in the universe. All the science we know, every single bit of it, only applies to 0.01% of the universe. All the rest of it is plasma. So when these people come out and they, oh, well, science says, I'm like, yeah, does they really?
Follow the science. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Hey,
like,
Max.
no wonder so much stuff doesn't make sense. It's like, duh.
Man, I'll tell
Oh
you.
boy.
Before we forget, I wanted to say real quick, I wanted to remind people you can come and see Eva and I this weekend, this Sunday, the 19th, right here in Tampa Bay. We will be in Clearwater at the OCC Roadhouse for Tampa Bay Screams. We're there from noon until whenever it closes. It's a really nice place, really good food. Come hang out.
Are you coming,
hi.
Linda?
Yeah.
Come visit.
Oh, when is it? Sunday?
Yeah, OCC.
Sunday.
So what's his name owns that place?
I don't
Big
know.
Paul, right?
Paul Senior from
Paul Senior.
Orange County. Yeah.
Orange County Choppers.
Is there going to be
Yeah.
food?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they actually really
Yeah,
good
the
food
food's
there.
good there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
12 to 5,
I
come
would
hang out with us.
I would be happy to come down. Yeah,
You
it
should,
sounds like
yeah.
it sounds like a good time.
I
Yeah.
wanted to say thank you to Winona for these fantastic bottle openers.
Cute.
So they're so cool. So,
She is very creative.
yes,
Thank you.
it is 5:00 somewhere. You know it. So thank you. I love them. Just got them. And I wanted to say happy belated birthday to Allie. Yesterday was his birthday. He is one of our original viewers. They've been here since day one. And I actually got to meet him in person in New York. So thank you, Allie, for being here still. And
Yes,
Are we
that's
gonna
you.
sing?
here
Are
we
we
go.
gonna sing happy birthday?
Here we go. Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Allie. Happy
go.
birthday to you.
And many more.
All right, throw those bits, everybody, so Allie gets a show.
Happy birthday, Allie.
Happy birthday, Allie.
Happy birthday, Allie.
Wow.
Oh,
So
boy.
Linda, is
Yeah.
there anything you wanted to add at the end? I noticed like we've seen a lot of Dr. Greer being pushed out to
Mhm.
push the narrative, which, like I said, thank you for explaining some of that. I think some people call that like being used as a tool by the government sometimes. So it would appear that might be, it would appear that is what's happening now, if he is confirming things that may not actually be happening.
Well, I mean, he's got his perspective. Okay, so it's been shared with me, in confidence, and I can't repeat who told me, but somebody who was in a position to know that every single figure in the UFO field is in some way or another compromised. And what that means is at some point or other, they got to buckle under and do as they're told. And those guys got to make a living. And, Doc's got a new movie coming out. And
Did he compromise, like Epstein Island compromise? Like, I didn't pay my taxes compromise? Like,
oh, I don't know exactly what they do to everybody. I mean, for some people, it's probably money. For some people, they did something. It's, like Carl Sagan. I'll tell you this one, he's dead. Carl Sagan cheated in his dissertation, his what do you call it when you're in college and you write your final paper for your PhD? What do you call that?
Your thesis,
your thesis. And he plagiarized a bunch of it supposedly, and that's what and then after he builds his name, they come in and say, listen, we're going to destroy you unless you do this one little thing, and then it so with everybody it's something different. So I worked for 4 years with Doc, and he's got a lot of different sides, but and he's got a lot of pressures that he's got to satisfy. And I don't know if you guys know this, I'll tell you that all the people who made like ET movies, and I don't mean like scary, like Independence Day. I mean, people who were small filmmakers and like Doc and James Fox and that kind of thing. What happened was there was a division of Sony Pictures called 1091. And 1091 bought the rights and distributed all of those kinds of movies. And then just last year before, 1091 sold out to Redbox. I didn't even know they were even extant anymore. I thought they were like, history. But apparently Redbox bought them all and then went into bankruptcy. And so the movies are still all online, but the money is disappearing someplace else and none of the filmmakers are getting paid. So Doc's not getting any money for any of the movies, unacknowledged, that, I have film credit on that, and the C5 movie, I have film credit on that one too. So they're not getting any money for any of those movies. So now he's got a brand new movie out, Battle for Disclosure. And I'm like, oh, please, can we just give up with the whole battle thing and just be nice? That really it sounds so addled. It sounds like entirely too simple. But something? I'm telling you. There you go. So yeah, Doc's got his thing and he's been banging that drum for a very, very long time. And, it started with Carol Rosin and, what's his name? The German guy. I forget. So anyway, yeah, the setting us up for the false flag invasion. And I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I mean, I suppose it probably still could, but it seems so weird that they let him talk about this all of this time through all of these years if they really intended to do that. But
that's why I was wondering why haven't they Epsteined him?
I imagine he's useful to somebody somewhere or not stepping on the wrong toes.
Yeah. And somebody said the Greer situation is a hard one. He's been an advocate for at least when it comes to maintaining the UFA topic. I'll give him props. His mentions to access of government rep and discussions are crazy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what he said is true. I mean, I've seen a lot of the stuff that he told us years and years ago in private, start to play out now. So he's definitely been on the inside. He definitely has, insider information, but that's never free. That's always a little tit for tat in there. And he deserves 100% credit for getting this whole thing rolling way back when he was a doctor. In the emergency room. So he's a real mixed bag. If you love him or you hate him, there's plenty of support for that on either side. But yeah, like I said, he's got this movie and they took all the income from all the rest of the movies away, and everything that's happening now kind of plays into the narrative that he's been beating the drum. And maybe it's true, I don't know, I'm certain he believes it, But I don't think it's the answer, and that's my frustration. I don't think it's the answer.
Okay.
With the inauguration coming up next Monday,
Yeah.
do you think they're, let's say the dark forces are going to throw some shit out there before Monday? Has anything in your network popped up? Anything?
I have not heard anything. I've not talked to anybody about it. I crawled into the hole and pulled the lid over, But I think it's almost. See, these guys are in an existential crisis. If Trump gets in there and does half of what he said he was going to do, those people are going to be, hanging in the streets. And if the government doesn't hang them, we're going to go hang them when we start finding out all the stuff that they've done.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, and he's just opened the Israel. Did you see about that? He posted this thing about this guy. Did you see about that? What he posted on X
today?
As today or yesterday?
I may miss that.
Yeah, so he's already starting to come out against Israel. It's like, those boys.
That's a taboo thing right there.
They play for keeps. I mean, you don't cross those boys. So yeah. I think there is going to be a lot of stuff. I don't know what it's going to be.
Could be an interesting podcast next week.
And if they don't throw it at them before the inauguration, they're going to start immediately after, because they got to tie him up. They got to tie him up with all this kind of like crazy crap. So in terms of getting through it, it's just a matter. We know it's coming in a lot of different ways for a lot of time, and it's got to go with the flow. Don't get too wrapped up in anything. Just ride the wave, and keep your head on a swivel. If something doesn't feel right, get out. I would stay out of big public
spaces. Yeah.
Turn on the spidey sense, boys and girls. Turn on the spidey
Pay
sense.
attention. Be street smart. Look around.
Yeah, you guys. Okay, so don't be in public looking at your screens. Just don't. Right. Don't do that. Okay. I watched a couple of guys shove a dude into a train a few weeks ago, and while it was a complete, I watched it over and over and over again, and every time I'm just like, oh my God. And let me tell you, the one thing that could have been done to avoid that is the guy could have been sitting in a way or standing in a way other than this.
Right.
And right at the edge. Right at the edge of the track.
The edge like this.
He was right at the edge.
Don't fucking do that, okay? This is the worst thing for anybody's security, okay? Yeah. It's the worst thing for your mental health. It is not good for you in so many ways, but it literally can get you killed. So when you're in public, stay the fuck off your screen. Have body awareness. Know what's going on around you, okay?
Yeah, just watch.
It's common sense, but apparently it has to be said. So, yeah.
And if you get a funny feeling, listen to it. Don't say, "Oh no," listen to it. Listen to it.
Yeah. So
you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to say anything. Just make a new plan. Making it,
Yeah. Just
pay attention.
Don't overthink.
Where do they find you, Linda, to get in touch or more questions on things like this?
You know what? It was weird. My website's down. I don't know why. I've been meaning to call up and find out. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't think I have anything going on Sunday. I'll come out to the Roadhouse, and in lieu of that, April, would it be okay if they reached out to you and you could?
Absolutely, and I can forward anything to you.
Shuffle stuff. I'm checking my calendar right now. Sunday's open.
If you plug Linda's name in, Linda Martuch, you will find.
You'll find her
a treasure trove.
Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
yes,
that's good.
Yeah. And you find all kinds of cute pictures of her with her dogs.
Yes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
Dogs are awesome.
Which she keeps collecting. So.
I'm not over my limit already. So
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So, thank you all for being here. Really, 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 really appreciate it. Again, happy birthday, Allie. And
Happy birthday.
yes, Allison, I can message you later. Winona, thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. Thank you, Linda, for being here. And
You're
I
very
hopefully,
welcome. I had a great time.
yeah, hopefully I'll see you maybe Friday night, if not Sunday afternoon. Yeah, we will be at the Roadhouse,
Yeah.
OCC Roadhouse in Clearwater. This is Florida, on Sunday afternoon from 12 to close. Food is good. Environment
Oh
is
yeah.
cool. It's with Tampa Bay Screams. It is a horror convention, so it's a lot of fun. Come out.
Dress
There's
up.
going to be quite a few celebrities there from movies that you may or may not know. So it's a fun vibe. So yeah, feel free to dress up and be weird. It will be
I've,
totally appreciated.
out of
And
all the stuff, that April does, this one's the best.
yeah, I love the horror
Oh,
convention.
good.
So,
Yeah.
and if you have kids, you get extra bonus points if you dress your kid up like some kind of anything, like a little monster, or even like a little onesie with blood on it or something.
Well, come
Anyway,
out, and you know what? You have a lot of new stuff that you'll have on
yeah,
photo
I
too.
actually got some new pictures and some new things done.
Mhm.
And also, the theme of the show again is do not live in fear. We're gonna be okay.
We are.
Have body awareness. Choose to live proactively instead of reactively. Be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be
Share
nice
the
and
love.
positive.
find the joy in every day, even the littlest things, like your food is good.
Mhm.
You got through 3 lights and all of them were green. Thank you. All of
There's
that
that.
positive energy that you acknowledge, if you acknowledge that positive energy, it actually brings more of it to you.
It does.
Positive attracts positive. So when you take the time to acknowledge these positives, a lot more of it will keep coming, and you're going to see it. You're going to see it. So keep focusing on these positives and more will come to you. So do not live in fear, live in love. Acknowledge the positive energy. And while we're going through this crazy administration change, try to avoid some, of the more populated places. That would be good. And you guys stay safe and keep your faces out of the phones in public. We want to see you. We want to see your faces back here every week.
Hey,
So
watch out for Bigfoot too, because there's
yes, yeah.
pictures out there of me that look like Bigfoot too.
Yeah, I know. She's our resident Bigfoot. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have a great night. And as I love to say, see you next Tuesday. Mwah.
Mhm.
Bye,
Thank you, Linda.
everybody.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can do this. Kicks me
I
off
was
and now
gonna.
I can't end it, right? There we go. Yay.